Hello again, and welcome to the Compassionate Curiosity Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Here, we invite compassionate curiosity into every conversation, not to judge or fix, but to explore with openness and intention. So, whether you're here because you're looking for support around your relationship to your body, food, or movement, or you've been trying to change old habits or patterns that you know don't serve you anymore but can't seem to break free from them, or you've been feeling disconnected from joy, purpose, or meaning in your life, you are in the right place, my dear. So, through tips, tools, and stories, it's my intention to support, guide, and inspire you to taking that next step in your own unique journey of healing and growing, however that may look. So, today we're going to talk about something near and dear to my heart, self awareness, and how I believe this is the ultimate form of self empowerment in literally any context, at any point in your life, in any situation. We're going to explore what self awareness is, how it impacts our lives, why it's so damn important, and how to build this muscle. We'll look at how self awareness comes into play when it comes to our sense of self worth, our relationships with our bodies, food, and movement, and making meaningful changes in life. So, as always, I love to start. I'm going to invite you in joining me for a moment of stillness to ground ourselves, to honor what we're currently thinking and feeling, what we may have just come from, but then to release what we're currently thinking and feeling, and doing so in order to create more space and energy to take in, process, and appreciate, what we're going to talk about today. So, with that being said, I invite you to find a comfortable seat if you're not already in one, and gently close your eyes. Just noticing the sensation of your feet against the ground, your seat against the chair. And just start by taking a deep breath in through your nose and a long breath out through your nose. And we'll do a few more rounds of that conscious breathing. And as you do so, just noticing any sensations with the flow of inhalation and exhalation. Maybe noticing the expansion of your chest as you inhale, and watch it as it falls as you exhale. Maybe shifting your attention to your hands, noticing any sensations. Maybe there's some tingling, cold, warmth, and just allowing that to be however it is. And taking one more deep breath in through your nose and a long breath out through your nose. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes, inviting the world of form back into your visual field. Thank you so much. Also, if you have access to a pen and paper today, we're going to be doing a little bit of reflecting. It can be really helpful to write these reflections out. If you do not have access to that, you're driving or doing something else, no worries. Reflecting through thought alone is also beautiful, so no worries. I just want to start by asking you, what would change in your life if you were to become more aware of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors as you're experiencing them? How do you feel this would influence your relationships, your decisions, and overall well-being? And feel free to pause this if you want some more time with that, but I'll give you just a few minutes to reflect on that. And again, doing so through a compassionate, curious lens, inviting in curiosity instead of judgment or guilt or blame, whatever does come up. Journaling is a beautiful opportunity for us to connect with ourselves again, knowing that you and only you are seeing what you're writing out. Of course, you can share that if you do desire, but if not, this is a space for you, which can be incredibly empowering. Okay, so I want to start by defining self-awareness. What is self-awareness? I feel like there are a lot of different definitions, and we may already have our own definitions of them kind of fixated in our minds. And maybe mine aligns with yours and maybe it doesn't. But to me, self-awareness is the ability to observe, notice, witness your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors as they're happening, as they're arising, and doing so without judgment. And this is a skill, people. This is not something that necessarily comes easy to us because of, well, I think it's due to a lot of factors, kind of the culture and conditions that we are grown up in and surrounded by, doesn't necessarily value this. And so it makes sense why this can be challenging at first to develop. So, um, yeah, I think that we just need to have some grace with ourselves when we do talk about this. And oftentimes, I feel like at first, when we do start to build this self-awareness muscle, we almost see an increase in like frustration because we're noticing things that before had been, on autopilot. And that can bring up a whole another set of emotions and thought patterns, and that's okay. That is all part of that growing process. So, why on earth is it so important and so powerful, this awareness of what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I saying? What am I doing? This is why. We, related to that conditioning of the culture and whatnot, is we are so oftentimes running on autopilot, thinking the same things, saying the same things to ourselves, to others, believing the same things, which cause us to do the same things, act out, behave in the same way, day in and day out on repeat without any conscious awareness of these things. And without that awareness, we absolutely cannot make any change. If that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for change, if something isn't aligning, if you aren't seeing the results that you want in your life, that change can only happen once we are aware of what is actually happening inside of us. Okay. And so becoming aware of what you're saying to yourself, what story you're telling yourself, what actions and behaviors you're doing is always going to be that very first and most critical step toward moving forward. Um, and so, why is it so important? It seems subtle, but once you become aware of those thoughts that have been on repeat, tend to be on repeat, um, and which are always connected to a belief system. A belief systems are just repeated thoughts that have become hardwired in our brains, and that causes us to act out. Our behaviors are results of our belief systems. And that's essentially what a habit is. It's all of that on repeat. And so by becoming aware of and using strategies to build that awareness, you are breaking the cycle. You're creating a separation between yourself, your true self, and those thoughts, those emotions, those behaviors. Okay. You're no longer identified with those thoughts. behaviors, emotions. Okay, I feel like so many times we feel as if we are that emotion, or we are that thought, or we are that belief. But in reality, we are so much more than that. We are not that. And so that separation breaks the cycle and allows us the space to start to look at these thoughts, behaviors, and beliefs, to start to question them. Is this something that I actually believe in? Is this something that's serving me? Do I want to believe this? To then make the next step. So you no longer are at the mercy of your emotions or thoughts, right? You now place yourself in the driver's seat, right? Like you have the power now to decide how you're going to respond to those emotions or thoughts or beliefs. Um, and so I think that, makes it quite clear of how this is connected to the ultimate form of self-empowerment. You are now in a position to choose how you respond to things that happen in your life, to things you experience. Okay. And you then get to question if this is true for you, if you want this to be true for you. And so, yeah, I feel like another question that I want to ask you is to reflect on: what's one belief about your self-worth that you've never questioned before? Maybe just bringing, and maybe that's hard to think of right now, because again, if we don't have that awareness of what we are saying to ourselves, we're not going to know that yet, and so that's totally okay. um, I think that, so awareness being the very first step, let's look at 3 different ways to start building that awareness muscle. How do we start to gain that traction? The very first one is setting an awareness alarm. Yes, I'm talking about a literal alarm. So this can be in your phone, most likely, to whatever time of day you want to. I would recommend just starting one time a day. You can literally set it as awareness alarm. And we're going to combine this with the 3 N's. Okay, so for whatever time you set your alarm for, it's going to go off. What are you going to do? If you're able to, stop what you're doing. Find a quiet place if that's accessible. If not, just have a seat. Gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. And shift your attention to what you were just thinking about. What thought pattern was just going on? Okay. And so with the 3 N's, notice, name, and navigate. The very first one, notice. So that's what you're doing in the very first step here. We're just noticing, what was I just thinking about? What thought did I interrupt? And doing so without judgment, right? Whatever that was, it was happening. Again, you are not your thought. You are experiencing that thought. And then naming it, naming that thought. So I encourage you to write it out and then navigate. Okay, then you get to choose, what are you going to do with that thought? Okay. As this becomes more familiar, you can set maybe 2 alarms per day, up to 3 alarms per day, and it will start to become something more natural. So the second method that we can build self-awareness is to sit still and quiet once a day. If you want to call that meditation, great. If you want to call that moment of stillness, lovely. This can look however you need it to look, okay? This can be lovely in the morning hours, but can also be extremely beneficial in the evening hours as well. Whatever you feel like works best for you. You can try it out in the morning, try it out in the evening, maybe midday also. And this can just look like finding a comfortable seat. This can look like what we were just doing at the beginning of this episode, finding a comfortable seat. You can be lying down, sitting up, and closing your eyes gently and just taking a deep breath in and out, becoming still. When you slow your body, you slow your mind. And so the mind might be quite active in that time, and that's okay because what we're doing here is just noticing. We're becoming the witnesses to these thoughts. So just noticing what is going on in my mind. The third method that we can use to build self awareness is to have a conscious breath moment. Okay. That's very similar to our option number 2, but this can be done at any moment, right? This could be you sitting outside waiting for the bus to come. This could be in the midst of an argument with someone, is closing your eyes and bringing your attention to your breath and taking a deep breath in through your nose and a long breath out through your nose, ideally with the exhalation being longer than the inhalation. That activates more so um, the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps us relax, which helps ground us. And through the nose, I always recommend in through the nose, out through the nose, because it helps us to take a longer, slower breath, which maximizes our oxygen intake and use, um, because we become such shallow breathers and chest breathers, and this kind of helps us to lengthen and slow that out. And there's so much power to invite more of that life force in and reap the benefits of that. So, yes, try those out. I wonder what works for you. I wonder if you've tried any of these already. Would love to hear how it goes for you. Um, a little bit about, I just want to share kind of how self-awareness has been a part of my life and part of my journey. Um, it's interesting because I feel like my definition of self-awareness has evolved. I've been practicing yoga and meditation for quite some time now, but it's really only been relatively recently that um, I guess my self-awareness has heightened. Um, I feel like before, when I was at the peak of my disordered eating, depression, burnout, chronic fatigue, really low frequency emotions that I was experiencing, it's like I knew that I was feeling bad, right? Like that was very clear to me, but I wasn't being intentional about naming exactly what those low frequency energies were, which now I can label as and recognize as anger, resentment, guilt, shame, um, and specifying and knowing how that is in my body, how that presents itself to me in my body, to then be able to choose how I respond. And so I feel like that has deepened, and that has given me so much strength, so much power, again, in how I respond. And I can say with confidence that the half life of those emotions has reduced significantly with that power. So because we're going to be experiencing all of these emotions, it is a natural part of being a human being. Like we're going to experience everything on the spectrum. Um, and that's beautiful because those emotions are always there to teach us something. It's an invitation to go inward, look inward. What's going on? What is a need that I am experiencing that's not being met right now? Um, and how can I cope with that? How can I resolve that? Um, and so there's really value in any and all emotions. Even the quote unquote bad or disempowering emotions. Um, However, being self-aware, first of all, allows you to do that, to invite that question in, what's going on here? What's actually going on? What am I experiencing? And instead of resisting it or distracting ourselves with something else, it allows us to fully feel that, to fully process and experience that. um, and let that be a part of our experience. So, yeah, it's been beautiful. Um, I'm so grateful for, it was really a deep dive into self reflection, my own experiences with coaching, deepening my yoga practice, that I think ultimately led to that shift for me. Um, because of the tools, methods, strategies that I gained along that way to help consistently build my self awareness. And so, believe me, if it is possible for me, it is possible for you, my dear. I literally came from the darkest of darkest places, and everything is all relative, right? I truly believe that we are constantly evolving. We're constantly um, growing and healing and on this journey of unfolding. And so it's all relative as far as, where I was to where I am now. Um, but I am in a much lighter, loving, open place in my life right now. And I know that it has so much to do with self awareness. Um, and so please know that that is also so accessible to you as well, and can absolutely change your life. So, all in all, my dears, um, I would love to invite you to reflect on, one behavior or thought pattern that you've noticed in yourself lately that feels disempowering, that feels like it's holding you back. And how might you approach it with curiosity instead of judgment? And then I want to invite you also to commit to one self awareness building practice this week. So, whether that's the awareness alarm with the three N's, whether that's the moment of stillness, whether that's the conscious breath moment, see what works for you. And I would love to hear what comes up. Um, and I just want to thank you so much for being here with me and sharing this space with me. And until next time, may you know that you are not alone. I am here with you. And may you be guided by curiosity and grounded in compassion. Sending you love, light, and gratitude today and always.